So there's honestly so much to say with Death Nightwing. It's really complex. I want to start off by talking about how we start Death Nightwing in my raids, which is not normal. In my raids, we always do Death Nightwing second. That's not normal. Normally you do it third. You do Spider into Plague into Death Nightwing. So just be aware there's kind of different circumstances, and that's the crazy thing about Naxx is all these different little complex details. So I'm going to try and explain as many of them as I can. I just know that I'm going to have to do some follow-up discussion on this wing because there's so much to say, and I want to put a lot of focus on this trash. So we're calling for fear words at this point at the end of Spider Wing, having as many people as possible that are going to be in melee range of these first Death Knights. It's good to have a fear word. Throughout this first area here, until you get to Razuvious, fear words are really powerful. So shamans, you're kind of out of luck with that. The best thing you can do is just be ready to instantly tremor. Make sure that you're out of range of the fear, but close enough in range of your melee group that you're going to be able to instantly remove the tremor from them. Some guys that are bad shamans, they're just going to put down that tremor and wait for it to tick. The problem is 5 seconds waiting for that tick in this wing is enough that you're going to cause chaos. So in this area, it starts to be really important to have just good micro and macro gameplay throughout. And just know it's all about killing Skull. That's the number one thing to understand this in this wing is each time our goal is to kill the main target before the mechanic happens. If you can miss one or two mechanics on each of these trash pulls, it makes it possible for you to chain the trash pulls together more and more. So my recommendation, and what you see Zert here do, is a lot of times he's only pulling when we are about to get in combat with it, or it's a target that it doesn't matter too much if we end up getting a mechanic. So let's just talk about that here. We always start the left and the right pulls first. Some groups they'll pull the middle pack first. You can see kind of the end of the patrol. It gets to about right there. This middle pack is really, really deadly. These side packs, they're really, really easy. We often don't have our full raid here yet. We still have some people in the back, and we're able to kill Skull fast enough that we don't get feared, or we have fear words on people, or we're just 99.9% of the time able to recover. Sometimes we have craziness, but again, as long as that back patrol is not in the equation, this first area is pretty easy. Mentioning the speed run strat, this is an area where you're going to AoE pull. You're going to pull all this trash together. And that extra patrol, if you get that in the AoE pull, that's what's really, really crazy and why you want to have Shadow Pot pre-popped, why you want to try and have maybe some frozen runes on people. It's just a really crazy scenario. So just know this is a very dangerous area for regular and speed runs. Again, speedruns, you're going to come out of Lotheb, so you have higher percent of crit, but also maybe only 2 or 3 healers that are able to heal. So Diamond Flask is really good. Again, it's just about survivability in this area and killing stuff really, really quickly. So what we do is kill one pack, instantly kill Skull, and then start pulling the next pack. So we pull the left, which only does a fear. Also, you see this raise undead. So I know on hardcore this is something that they're kind of like obsessed about because like one person died from it. Just don't be near the mobs. Like it's not that hard. There's like all these crazy stats, and you can stun them. So these Death Knights and the Servants, they can be stunned by Hodges. So they like insta die. Just make sure a tank is ready to taunt one of them and be close to it. As long as it's not a clothy that's in no gear at all, you'll be fine. That's something to mention in general for this wing is I often tell all the mages to use ice armor. There's only this one trash pack right here that does magic damage, and then it's really just ice armor having a little bit extra survivability that really can make the difference here. So again, what we're going to do is instantly kill the mobs that we're worried about. We flip around square as fast as possible. That's the number one thing to understand in this area is whoever's on square, they need to rip it out. And a lot of times someone will like AoE shout and pull it towards the raid and it faces the raid and hits everyone and it's a disaster. This is kind of a disaster here. You're going to see us just fall on our face over and over in this area. So we always focus Skull first, the captain. We mark the captain with a skull. In this scenario here, it seemed like we had way too much damage on X. That's often like the closer target that people hit first, right? So people that are being a little bit ratty sometimes, they focused the wrong target and caused issues. In AQ40, you saw that. I wanted to highlight that a little bit. In Naxx, it's a much bigger deal. Making sure that this captain died fast here was definitely the goal, the focus, and it was almost really scary because we also got stunned because a smith came in. So these smiths, they do a AoE slow. So our entire raid had slow attack right here. Not good. Then we pull the shade and flip the shade around. Fortunately, we didn't get hit by the volley from the shade. In this area here, you're not able to stun the shades. So in Spiderwing, we talked about how you could. There is one after Death Nightwing or after Gothic that you can stun, but just know these mobs here you cannot stun. Only the little ads. So then there's like 3 or 4 of these skeletons on this side. One side patrol you saw, we got them early here. Desert bulls. Oh, actually, we don't. We get them late. So it's just about not bullying too much in this area. And you're going to see we end up like killing some of these side mobs to our left because we get feared into them. If you're a newer group and you're worried about mechanics, it's totally fine to kill some of these side mobs. Just don't pull them all at once. And you're going to see how to manage if you do pull them all at once, which is basically what we're going to do at the same time as we're pulling another pack. So this is the really dangerous area right here. First, we again kill the captains before they do their spin. I guess I didn't really explain the mechanics of these captains and why we kill them first. Captains are the ones that do the spin. And there used to be, when batching was a thing, you could like flip these guys out so they would stop spinning sometimes. And like the way that they behaved in the old version of the game was just very different. In this version, it's very punishing. You need to lip, or you can use a lap as well. Limited action potion or whatever it's called. Living action, I should say. Shame on me. But yeah, so this is disaster right here. First of all, we get like double, triple hit. We wanted to flip the shades around as fast as possible. On this pack, it's 2 shades. So we were able to kill the captains before they spin, so that was good. We pull this pack back, but we all get hit by a volley. We couldn't flip the first one around. The next ones, they just both did their mechanics where we don't want to move up super far. You want to stay far back if you pull this pack like this and just like sustain through the damage. It's kind of scary. I mean, this is a world buff raid and people are taking like 6k damage. So maybe more shields on people could have been a thing. I don't know. It's just tough. Like priests just need to be ready to pray and go ham, which is what they're doing here. So that's what we do. We pull this pack back. You can just do this right pack right here and hug and move forward. But let's be realistic. Are you that quality of a raid? Just be real with yourself. Again, speedruns are definitely going to hug that side, but it's dangerous. Like what you're going to see here is we don't kill the pack fast enough before the mechanics, so we get feared and we get stuck on a spin. So what happens here, I guess we were just a little bit too close to the side construct, and one construct got pulled. Maybe Kang was too close as the hunter trying to get loot. It's tough having your pet as the hunter. But yeah, so side mob gets pulled here. These mobs, they can be stunned, they can be shackled, they can be nova'd. So a couple different ways to easily immobilize them, and just Hodge is so OP. So they do a knockback backwards. Like if you're behind the mob, you're going to get knocked way back into all of them. So we always hit them from the front, but some people get knocked backwards, get knocked to the side. I guess we actually only got one. No, so here it gets crazy. So because we have some DPS dealing with the construct, that's a lot of why we had issues here. Also, I think Zerk just went ham on Skull, and I didn't do a good job of grabbing it off of him. Got like a big crit or something, yeah. So just blasted. That was just bad on me. So we didn't kill these fast enough. Fortunately, they were disarmed, because this is really, really scary that X was spinning like that for a couple seconds. So in that situation, notice how people just stayed in and killed. If like the whole raid commits and it has 15k health, you're going to be able to kill it before it stuns you when it starts spinning. But if the raid doesn't commit and the call is to go out, then everyone should move out. So you need to have like a clear understanding. Do you stay in? Do you kill? Do you move out? What you're going to see here again is some more craziness. So again, we Nova some of these ads. We stun them. Easy peasy. They are kind of dangerous to have together, so I never recommend AoE shouting those ads. You just want to have tanks split them up. It's really dangerous to AoE shout because they do like a cleave that just owns the raid if they're all stacked. So this is where we use our Death Wish, and someone just went too far here. What we want to do is pull these back to like right where star is. You don't want to charge and move up. I think Homeo might have gone too far that time. But yeah, notice how star positions this. My recommendation is follow what star does. Homie was trying to pick up an ad, which I understand. That's the tank's job, but let the ads get closer to the side here, because this got a little crazy. Fortunately, we handled it well, where we killed the skull target first. So we weren't worried about a spin because skull died really fast, and then we disarmed the new skull and focused the new skull. So new skull was instantly disarmed. We committed to it, and we were all Death Wish, so we're absolutely blasting through this area, and we don't have to worry about the main mechanic. So again, as long as we're all Death Wished here, we're not going to get feared. We can Zerker Rage out of it. People are again are just doing more Fear Wards. So if we do have to deal with the mechanic from the Death Knights, it's just not really a factor. So on these last two packs, not really worried about double pulling them. It's not as dangerous. It's just really dangerous right here where you double pull and then the patrol can come in as well. And then the patrol can fear you into the other pack. And if you don't pull the shades behind you, that's when it gets really sketch. So pulling in this area needs to be really, really careful. Some people, they'll pull super far back. The problem if you pull super far back is that you're guaranteed to deal with mechanics. So if you understand the mechanics, if you know, an unbuffed group like that that pulls really far back, they're always going to like move out of the spins. And some groups, they're going to kill the Death Knights first, not the captains. So I'm not going to tell you what to kill first. I'm going to tell you what I kill first, right? Because we know that we have the firepower to kill before the spin. If you don't have the power to instantly kill one of these targets, my recommendation then would probably be to kill the other one first, right? So you don't have to deal with the fear, because the fear is really, really dangerous, and trying to remove that as much as possible is then a little bit easier. You just don't stack the captain and the other guy together. You bring the captain out, and no one's near the spin. So again, there's just some different strats, right? It's hard for me to tell you how to play. You need to know what your raid is right, what your raid is like, and then play right according to that. So these mobs are pretty easy. You just want to pull them one at a time. They do a magic effect that stacks, as well as a death coil. So you see we get death coiled into the next pack here. Not too big of a deal. We only have like 2 or 3 stacks of this magic effect. You can't cleanse it or anything, you just have to heal through it. But a couple of them isn't too bad. If you get like 6 or 7, that's when it gets really dangerous. So I don't really want this. I always want to make sure that the melee are all pulling at the same time and it's not the hunter pulling. So just know that's not how I would prefer to do it. I want all the melee to instantly be hitting as we pull these. These are really, really dangerous mobs, the steeds. They drop threat after they charge, and their charge is like an AoE based, just absolute clap of damage. But you see how no one took damage here. Look at the raid here, and I'm not going to show other raids that have like 10 deaths to these sometimes. These mobs are super, super dangerous. The reason that they're not dangerous for us is that we never pull them from far away. We always try and instantly kill one and then only have to worry about the other. And as that one charged, it died. So if you kill it before the charge, no damage happens. There's ways to take like no damage on these packs. And again, these are packs that I tell the mages that they should be using ice armor on. We did get kind of chained here. Actually, no, never mind. We just got 3 stacks, we're fine. But yeah, so this 3-pack, kind of deadly as well. The 2 strategy is either you pull the 3-pack far to the right side or you pull the steeds first. We just like to do the steeds first a lot of the time. Sometimes we do the other, but typically we pull the steeds first just because it's nice to get that safer out of the way. The problem, like I said, is that these guys death coil, right? So a lot of times if you pull these in the middle like this, you're going to get death coiled into this pile over here. And then it's very, very dangerous. So either you pull far to the right side with those 3-packs, or you pull the steeds first. So again, this is how we want to be doing it, and look how much little damage this raid takes on these packs. I'm just going to let you experience them if you've never had before. They're very, very rough. Unless you kill them like this. We take no damage. So this time we do. We take a little damage. We take like 2, 3k, but a lot of the priests are putting shields on people. Casters are staying back and spread, so they're not going to all get hit at once. And we just blast them. So this time the mages did get hit, Druid got hit. Look how much damage goes out. Meowin get hit once as a fully like tier 3 Druid buffed goes down into half health, like instantly. So if both of them do that, then you're going to be in big trouble. You need to kill one of them as fast as possible. Same idea as we talk about with AQ40 and the stingers before Hoo Hoo. Your goal is to kill one of them as quick as you can. All right, so you're going to see a typical Razuvious, and then we're going to talk about a dangerous Razuvious right after this. On Razuvious, you want to have 2 priests. I think it's just 3% resist that they, or spell hit that they need. The superstition is that you remove your shadow resistance. And the weird thing about that, right, is that if you're undead priests, you have passive 10 shadow resistance. Let me get camera focused. 10 shadow resistance, right? So you can use the slime pet. I forget the exact name of it. Maybe I'll put it on the screen. It reduces your, I'll definitely put it in the description. It reduces your resistance by 10. So there is a way for every class to have 0 shadow resistance. But even then, like, I just don't know. It's just one of those superstitions where it's never been fully proven. It just feels like there's times where the boss drops. And is it more likely to drop when you have shadow resistance? That's kind of like the superstition. The reality is a lot of times the people that have shadow resistance are also the people that mess up other mechanics, and it gets veiled as, oh, it's the shadow resistance, when it's like, no, you pressed an ability. So I think I need to do like a full-on priest guide in more detail for Razuvious with my thoughts on it. But what you're seeing here is a really easy one, right? So typically, I want the paladins to be saving their bops for the priests. The thing to understand is that Disrupting Shout is a physical ability. So it's a physical mana burn. If you have a lot of mana and you're a caster in cloth, you're going to get one shot. If you have a lot of mana and you're a paladin in full plate, you're just going to lose all your mana. You're not going to die from it in one hit if you're full health. So just know there is that distinction. And like, I think Kang gets hit here, right? Yeah, he goes down to 0 mana. I'm assuming he gets hit. Yeah, so the hunter gets hit full mana, goes down to half health because he's in full tier 3. So just know there is that like safety net as a caster. Just use your arcane intellect 3 times and you're going down to 10% mana, right? Like you've done that to complain about a million times in your raid. So understand how to sap your mana. And there's times where it's really important to sap your mana in like a second. When you're escaping from this boss and going to the safe spot, sap your mana. When it's absolute chaos and you don't know what's going to happen, sap your mana. Like, figure out those big mana burns. And as the priest doing the mind control, I would recommend sapping your mana before you pull. Have like 15% mana. And so going back to my original point, paladins, that's why I want you to save your bops for the priest. You can save this encounter. You are the power of this raid on this fight. If you bop a priest when there's disaster and the priest is then able to mind control and transition safely, just know that's the most powerful thing. You see mages, they always request the bop so that they can stay in to keep the ignite going. But ideally, mages, they can always keep the ignite going if they just cycle through their lips and have one mage that's going in and staying out kind of thing, right? Um, it doesn't really matter which side you go on. Some people go left, some people go right. They'll tell you which one's more optimal. In a speedrun setting, the left side is a little bit more optimal because it's like closer, right, in NASCAR. So just know that technically in the speedrun setting. There's a lot to talk about with Razuvious. Kind of just highlighted the big thing as far as what's going to kill you more than anything else is the Disrupting Shout. It's insane how much that happens, as well as just doing the basic mechanics of the mind control. We're going to show a bad Razuvious now and just talk a little bit more detail here. You see both the priests that are doing the mind controls, they are constantly out of sight. We keep them marked so that I always know where they are. The tanks that are bringing the unmind controlled ads, they want to make sure that they're in line of sight of these priests, right? So that's the main reason that we keep them marked so that the tanks always know where these ads are. At the end here, I kind of would like to just even keep them in range. Cleaving them doesn't matter for logs, doesn't really do anything. So as much as possible, maybe last second mind controlling an additional ad. There's a lot to talk about with Razuvious. Main thing is just keeping it taunted the whole time from the priest, right? So the idea is that the priest is able to, we'll just listen to this time.
Okay, we're going, baby.
Chill at the start, nothing. Okay, we're good. So Hagrid instantly taunts Razuvious and runs to the corner with shield wall on. So first thing you do is taunt. That's the first ability that you do. And notice how he doesn't go out and, well, actually it's perfect timing. Like where he pulled was perfect. But sometimes Razuvious won't be in a good spot. The priest cannot chase. This is as far as you can go. If you move any farther, you're screwed. So no one can be casting any spells until Razuvious gets to the ad, and then the ad latches it with the taunt. Once it's latched on with the taunt, then you bring it to safety. So let's go back. Chill at the start, nothing. Okay, we're good. So yeah, I say nothing until, once I say taunts out, then we're good. So the fight's set. All the priests have to do now is put the ad on top of the other ad and press the taunt button.
What marks here? I'm dropping.
So number one thing that the priest can do on Razuvious is have a mic. Understand how to be verbal on Razuvious as the priest is the best thing for safety. It's just like a tank that doesn't have a mic. You're kind of just wondering, like, are you good? Do you need heals or what's up?
I'm dropping.
So he calls, I'm dropping. So the first ad drops. The second ad has used its taunt. Disrupting Shout is a window. So once the window is open on the first one, you then know the correct timers on the next ones. So this first shout that happens, this DBM timer, just know it's not when it's going to be, it's a window. After that, it's accurate. So when it says soon, it can be a couple seconds. Like, see, they're waiting 3 seconds here.
I want to take X, so you'll have
yep. So you hear those comms there, disrupting shout went out while the priest is saying taunting X. Really important to say which targets you're grabbing, so then the other priest doesn't accidentally grab the same targets, because taunt won't be available. So you see a mage died here because they didn't move out of line of sight. So this is where disaster happens.
Oh, I dropped.
Dummy. I taunted, I have it for now. Disaster. We need it. Do we have any?
Waiting on disrupting shot. Human's in the middle of all that.
Yeah, you guys gotta bring it out. Heal me. Good lay. I taunted at the last second. Am I gonna die? So I survived there for like 15 seconds tanking this boss as the main tank. So on hardcore, your main tank is probably not like willing to do that. You don't really need to be the main tank. You just need to have full mit. If you wear full mit and get blessed and get good luck, you can tank this boss for a long period of time and absolutely save a bad encounter. I guess on hardcore they do a different strat, right? So as long as the mage tank is keeping it or the rogue tank is keeping it, then you're fine. So different idea. Again, it's not hardcore, right? So in a speedrun setting, if you ever have disaster, I would highly recommend you have one person assigned to be that shield wall tank. You can survive one or two of the unbalancing strikes that way through shield wall, but you can only then hope to dodge or parry them. The unbalancing strike hits super hard, and without mitigation like shield wall, you're just going to get one shot by it. So let's look into a little more here. You heard the priest say, oh no, it dropped. So right here it drops, and I think Num dies right away. So then the dummy goes out. Ideally, I would have been the highest on threat and I would have been able to then hopefully dodge that first hit or be able to tank that first melee and then be ready to shield wall. But in reaction and reality, it's just a little tougher to do that. So you need to be ready to instantly do your dummy, which people are pretty good about, but unfortunately we do have one death before we set up for our safety net, which is just dummies. You do not want to lip AoE shout on Razuvious. If you do that, you're going to get other people killed. Unbalancing Strike cannot target you if you are invulnerable, so it just turns and chops someone else and just one-shots them. So I think I guess Gauss died too, unfortunately. I feel like he died to the ads. We could potentially look at the logs here. But yeah, the problem here is that all these ads, when the dummies go out, these ads are too close and get brought in by the dummies. So all the ads are now line of sight, and the priests, they can't do anything. And they're aware, right? They see the disrupting shout. They're like, I don't want to get hit by the disrupting shout. I need to stay line of sight. So the only thing that we can do as tanks is make sure that they are far enough away when the dummy happens so disaster doesn't become worse. So we definitely had some unfortunate situations going on this. And just know after Razuvious dies, you can just one-shot them. The sappers don't do anything. They don't count for logs. So I would prefer to save sappers for things that actually matter. Because you just one-shot them anyways. So it doesn't really make sense to sapper on this. But yeah. So I just shield wall and get lucky. Let's look at damage taken. So I guess Gauss got meleeed as well. So there was a little bit of time here where Razuvious was not tanked, which is unfortunate. So I guess all the dummies were going to start, right? We'll just look at damage done by Razuvious. So we click damage done, enemies, Razuvious, events, and this way we can see damage done. Oh, so Gauss and Num got over like back to back. So we were slow, yeah. So took us a second and a half to then get the dummies going. I got lucky here that I dodged the first unbalancing strike, but I'm pretty sure that I had shield wall up. So didn't matter too much at this point. But actually, no, yeah. Definitely had shield wall up at this point. I only got hit by 1500, right? So definitely shield wall up. But yeah, so early on, you can see in here, a couple people got hit by the disrupting shot, but they're immune to it because they used their lip or bop. But the main thing to see here is that I was able to tank this unbalancing strike because of shield wall. I only got hit by 5500. And then I got super lucky later where this this unbalancing strike missed on me. So I did get hit by back-to-back melee hits in 3 seconds, a crushing, and then just a regular for 11k, but I was able to be healed through that, through a lay on hands and just some big heals. So unbalancing strike dodge was, or miss I should say, was everything. The dodge was super clutch as well. But the key here is that anyone is able to tank for 7 seconds on Razuvious if they shield wall taunt and mocking blow. Again, mocking blow is good because if you shield wall during it, you know that Razuvious can still hit only you with unbalancing strike. You're not immune to it, so it's not going to hit someone else. So chaining that with taunt is kind of your goal. AoE shouts on this fight. You can AoE shout him if you don't use your lip, but the problem with AoE shout is that pretty likely you're going to rip the other ads and bring them in as well, right? So it's just one of those kind of tough ones. So let's go back to Zert's point of view, and we'll just watch Razuvious here. After that is some tough trash. This trash is no joke. You only want to pull one pack at a time, and notice how Zert is not pulling here. He knows that these will double pull. 2 dangerous packs. The first pack is always going to be double axes or double staves. Quote me if I'm wrong on that, but very consistent. The next one can be like a patrol of something different, but expect to always face double axes at the start, which means that you need to make the call to take off Lionheart helms and just be in tanky gear as anyone in this raid. It's super, super tough trash. So on this trash, the axes are your number one fear. keeping them split up is #1 priority. Your nightmare is that you also pull the staves, and then you have to deal with the um, snare from the novas. These staves do a nova that really sucks. You see some paladins put Blessing of Freedom on people, that's clutch. And then we deal with the patrol. So this patrol, it goes farther, and you see Zert pulls it here because he knows that if it goes farther, it's going to social pull the next pack. That next pack in the middle basically always has an axe. So the nightmare is that while you're all stunned and slowed like this, the axe suddenly just rips in the raid and gets in the back line and AoEs and one-shots people. The spin can be dodged. Ideally, I like to pull these packs from a distance. It's super, super random when these guys spin. Sometimes it's like right on pull. Instantly they'll spin. Sometimes it's like 1 or 2 seconds later. So I think it's kind of worth just pull from a distance, and sometimes it spins early. If not, it gives you the time to set up a little bit more and make sure that the tanks can split them up. This pack is super deadly as well. Square just needs to be flipped around as quick as possible and kill the Skull and X. The Necronites do a lot of damage, but look how much damage we take. Zero. Literally zero damage on this pack. That's because we correctly kill the targets that do the damage and position the other targets so that they don't do damage. Then one pack of these Cavaliers. Again, these guys do that AoE and the Death Coil. They patrol back and forth. You don't want to pull them. The problem is that they pull really close to this pack, so it can get super kind of scary, and then people walk backwards into the trash behind you. That's something to mention, that some groups, they're going to clear this whole room. Notice how we just hugged the wall, and this is all you got to pull. This first axe pack, then the staff pack, then the patrol, then one more pack. That's all you got to do if you hug the wall. If you don't hug the wall and you don't trust the raid, then probably pull these extra staff pack and the middle pack, and you'll feel a lot safer. So just 2 extra easy pulls. If you don't trust people hugging a wall, just know your raid. And the thing is that if you wipe here on Four Horsemen, you have to walk through this room again anyways. So something to think about: if people are just going to auto walk through this area, maybe killing the trash is worth it. Last thing to mention about this room is that if you're doing this like a day later, this trash will despawn once Razuvious is dead. So Razuvious is connected to the trash between Gothik and Razuvious. So all this trash here, if you reset the instance, I might do something to explain that in more detail. This trash can still be skipped if you do it properly. 99.9% sure on that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But again, we'll talk about that later. It doesn't really matter because you see how we just blow through this trash. I'd recommend trying, instead of doing the logout skip in 99% of groups, just do this. The problem is that in low coordination groups, you can't even expect 40 people to log out. So a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, the logout trick doesn't work. And it's like, no, you just don't know how to log out as a raid. Like literally that simple. This last pack, super, super deadly. It's 2 captains. They both need to be instantly disarmed. This is a good pack to use a sapper on. You're not really going to need it for Gothic unless you're doing speedrun strat. So Skull and X top priority is killing these 2 Necronites, bringing the Square and Moon out in a lower tier raid where you don't expect to kill them. But for us, we just stack them all and kill them really quickly before they spin. But again, worst case scenario here, these Necronites, they can do a snare. So sometimes people get snared away from the captain, and then the captain does the spin. So it's a wombo combo of you getting unable to move and then just chain stunned and die. So understand that's a super, super deadly pack, and you need to take it seriously always. So you see an example of Zert messing around with the hunter pull. He got it on like second jump here. So this is a good example of how to do it. You just kind of go at the wall like this, angle, jump. Oh, he got it first jump. Gamer. So yeah, that's how you do it. Night Elves do have it pretty easy, I think. But yeah, we don't do any Gothic skips in our raid. I could find examples of Gothic skip fails. In my history, Gothic is one of those bosses where you just have to play it safe. So I don't even want to talk about the Gothic tech. That can be in another video, because Screw Gothic tech. We're going to talk about just basic Gothic so that you're going to be able to kill this boss because that's the only thing that matters, right? You're on a timer. You can't do this boss faster. So that's the reason that you do Gothic tech. You can pull trash through the wall, and it means that while you're stuck in this timer, you're able to clear stuff later that will make your run a little bit faster, right? A lot of times, the reality is that it doesn't make it that much faster. It's not one of the biggest time saves, and it's one of the most deadly. It is super, super dangerous to do the Gothic tech if you're not prepared for it. If you've had a couple deaths and don't really realize that your power level is lower, it just really can catch groups off guard. So, no, it's one of the more dangerous pieces of tech for sure. Again, you could do like one or two packs, but then the question is just like, why? I guess it's practice for later. Once you start bringing in the gargoyles, that's when it gets really deadly. At the same time, though, even just bringing in one ghoul pack during these different packs here, super, super dangerous. So we're watching Death Knight perspective, or sorry, dead side, I should say. So there's two sides, the live side and the dead side. On dead side, we have one tank on each of these front three piles. If the ads spawn at the far piles, we wait for them to get closer. They cannot be affected by magic abilities. That's why you have all the casters that do magic on one side and everyone else on this side. There are some exceptions to that, like the trainees are the ones that can't be affected, I should say. I'm pretty sure that the Death Knights at least can be fairy fired. I'm actually blanking a little bit on if fairy fire works on this side, so if someone wants to say in the comments, that would be really helpful. That's a detail I can't think of right now. But the main thing is intercepts. The fact that you can stun these with intercepts on the Death Knights is huge. You're going to see some of these riders come up. The riders cannot be stunned on Death Knight's side. So the riders, you ideally want to have one tank instantly kill the Death Knights, some chonky warriors finishing it off while you're then picking up the other steed. Tanking this horse and the Death Knight at the same time, the horse and the Death Knight, super, super dangerous. The rider's on the other side, so my mistake on that. On the live side, in the middle, the rider will spawn. Live side is just left to right. We can talk more about Gothic later, but both these sides are really easy if you just do the group setup properly. I always put more people than needed on the live side. So I put 6 healers on live side, 6 healers on dead side. Reality is you don't need 6 healers on live side, but you don't really need more than 6 healers on dead side if you're not doing the tech. If you're doing the tech, then you need like 7 or 8 or even 9. And just have like one healer over there for speed run, because this side has so much damage output if you do the Gothic tech. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the nice and easy Gothic. On live side, you just go left to right, kill the mobs each time, and you have more melee DPS over there. So we always have our rogues on live side and have 1 or 2 warriors as well that I trust. So we have one tank on each pile, rogues helping out. It ends up being about 20 and 20 split is what you see here. So it's actually 21 on this side, 19 on the other side, it looks like. But again, we have 3 tanks on the other side, a couple of rogues that are helping out, another DPS. That depends a little bit on your comp. Like in this comp, we have 4 mages and 2 warlocks, so that's 6 casters. So something to think about if you have, like 8 mages, maybe you only need like 1 or 2 extra warriors. But warriors are really nice because they can intercept. Helps a lot when the Death Knights do their charge. That's kind of the one fear risk on the live side is that the Death Knights charge all the casters. Again, which is why I recommend that you have inner fire on. Make sure you have ice armor on. Things to increase your survivability from physical damage is really, really valuable in this wing. Okay, so after this wing, he did one shot it earlier for the record. He's pissed he couldn't get it, but we pull this next trash here. We set our groups up for this boss, specifically for this boss. So just know I do 3 different group setups. I have AoE groups, Gothic groups, and Lothab groups. Those are the 3 different configurations that I have. I could also have a max DPS group. That would be another one. And then like a Giga tank. If we want to get more specific, we can talk about some more. There's a You can end up having like 8 to 10 group setups for Naxx depending on the different boss that you're fighting. But keep it really simple at the start is my recommendation. Have an AoE setup, have a Lothab setup, and a Gothic setup. Those are like the three starting points. Again, on Horde side, it's a little bit more important to have really good group setups for your shamans, so it gets more complex. But to keep it simple, that's my recommendation. So just know that we like change the groups here after this boss, and we always lose a bunch of time on that. We use method raid tools to change our groups around rather than doing it manually. At some point, though, if you had someone designated to do it as you're raiding, that might be faster than trying to wait for out of combat like we have to with method raid tools. So this is a good example of poor trash pull. We wanted to pull more to the left side here. With this pulling to the right where it is, we end up pulling the trash on the side here. These ghouls, once they get 50%, really important to disarm or stun them. Early charge or intercept isn't great because it means that the next stun is likely DR'd. So kind of scary here. I make the call that we kill the ghouls, finish the ghouls first. Why? Because these ghouls just absolutely slap people. And a lower tier raid, if we're not putting output much damage here, I would say no DPS ghouls, no DPS ghouls, and we full switch to the acolytes. But in a Zug raid like this, you the ghouls are just gonna be a big problem if they stay alive for below 50% any extra second. It's just amazing how fast those ghouls will kill people if they're not stunned. So for that reason, we focus on ghouls in that scenario, but again, that's an example of a trash pull that your scenario might be different, and there's sometimes that it's really important you kill those acolytes first. The other thing to understand with these acolytes is that they do AoE damage, so all of our casters here are stacked together right on top of where the acolyte runs. The acolyte is able to get into the raid before it does its ability, which it didn't really do much, right? Like it did a little bit, but the volley is the big thing then. And the volley is like more range based. So if you, all your melee are far in the front and the casters are in the back, your raid is not all getting hit by this volley. The real problem with getting these double volleys like this is how everyone is stacked together. If you're front and back, then it's just a lot safer to deal with those volleys where you know it's just the melee rather than the whole raid getting hit. So this is a dangerous area where a lot of times, again, double pulls happen. Note how Xurt did not double pull these. So these acolytes will often pull, or if you're poorly positioned down in this corner here, it's the same leeway room as in Spider Wing, where you just really need to be aware of your character. And we'll kind of talk about the sneak here. White main lore is that every single GDKP in the first couple weeks of Naxx wiped in this area because they didn't pull this side pack. So it's kind of silly how we don't pull this side pack. We're kind of like that medium level of range where we're pretty confident in our ability. So we think we can sneak past this, but we're still pretty lawnmower mode. A lot of people will be really tentative in this room where they try and skip as much as possible. And my number one recommendation between Gothic and Four Horsemen is to kill as much trash as you can. Just accept the 30 seconds, 1 minute loss. A lot of groups are going to be booned anyways, so it's not the end of the world to just take an extra 1 or 2 minutes on trash, kill the extra pack right here, and just take it slow through this area because visibility is a big problem. Priests can use mind vision and look forward here and see where the patrols are and mark them. That'd be something I'd recommend that you do as a priest if you have assist. Mark them with like the last mark that people don't use as assignments. Typically in raids like this, you're going to use marks 1 through 4, maybe marks 1 through 5 in this area. So you'll have like a 6th and 7th mark typically available if you just mark your main tank. Or we mark star and circle here. But again, we could use triangle or diamond for the patrol marks, because typically it's just basically 1 through 4 marks being used. So again, just lawnmower mode. All this trash here, we just don't try and do fancy skips. We just kill it. That's my number one recommendation. These packs, they do like a semicircle. So this pack here, it starts basically where we are and it goes all the way to the other side. And then the other pack, this one in front of us, it walks basically to where you are right here. So what often happens is you get baited. You kill this first pack right here, and you think this other pack is going to turn around, but it's not. This pack continues and does more than like a 160 rotation. It's more like 270. So because of that, see how roll up just pulled? It's deceiving how far these mobs come. Lots of people don't understand the way that these patrol back and forth. It's kind of tricky. So yeah, we don't try and skip anything. That shade in the middle can be stunned. The shade there and the one after Gothic can be stunned. So oftentimes good intercepts on those are a possibility. And yeah, the patrols, if you're a progression group, just kill them. Make sure that there's nothing around you that you're going to get death coiled in. It's a steed, the guys that do the death coils, or the cavaliers, I should say, whatever it is, and then 2 necronites. So you kill the necronites really fast, and then you deal with the steed after. Those steeds, they do a cleave, so just killing the necronites as fast as possible is the number one thing, and not being all stacked into the horse guy. So let's talk a little bit about Four Horsemen now. We are going to do the standard strat. I would say that there's 2 main strats for Four Horsemen. We are not discussing the grandpa way. The grandpas, back in my day, we had 8 warriors in tier 2, and they used real. Yeah, we're not. We're not that. Okay. In this raid, we're going to use 6 tanks in total for Four Horsemen. I would recommend you have 7 tanks. You need 3 of those tanks to have some fire resist gear, and otherwise just regular tier 2.5 would basically be good enough. You want to stack 1 or 2 of those tanks with mitigation gear so that they can deal with things like patchwork and saffron. Those are the 2 biggest ones for the mitigation. Lotheb. It's not too important to be super tanky for this boss. That's what I'm trying to make clear. We have 1 tank that will either be in like full mitt or have some fire resist. You see Tuco's getting chonked here. He's going to get up to 4 or 5 stacks, but he knows with our strat here, he's only going to have to survive this 1 time. All he has to do is not die, so Tuco doesn't die. I don't want to jinx it, but like literally Tuco never dies on this boss because he understands how this boss works. And more tanks need to, because if you die to Mograine, it's often your own fault not using more defensives or healers. 2 problems on Mograine. We're talking about this boss first because it's the biggest issue. The idea with the burning Thane strat is Thane is the focus, right? So get in your head that Thane is just going to die, right? What's going to be the issue for most groups when they're trying to burn Thane is the DPS, and we can talk about that. But the main thing is going to be you're going to have issues on Mograine. Your Mograine tank is going to die, and the raid is going to fall apart. So just know the number one thing that you can do as a raid group is make sure that your tank on Mograine stays alive. You always want to have a tank or a healer when they're rotating out, make sure they are healing the tank. Don't instantly run out when you have 3 stacks. The general way is that you get 3 stacks in your spot and you move continuously. With a little bit more nuance to that, right? So we could show Waumbek's point of view here on Four Horsemen. Oh no, we're getting to A-bomb already. We're going too fast. So let's watch this healer's perspective here on Four Horsemen. So first of all, notice how he's healing the tank. That's kind of a main important thing. And Thane gets brought over to this corner. Sometimes 1 or 2 void zones, if Blamo just puts them down early, is a possibility. So casters need to be aware of that on Thane. But the main thing on Thane is just make sure that you are max range. You see he is using Seal of Light there, gamer play. I think that's really good to do. But then all the casters stack somewhat max range. If you're over 30 yards away, you're not going to get hit by the meteor. So a lot of times people are freaking out about meteor. They're like, stack, stack, oh no. And it's just, the reality is if everyone's super far away, it's not a big deal. And also if you have all your melee, like it's just not super big. I have seen people get one shot by meteor, not going to downplay it, but just know it's like not the biggest thing. The problem is sometimes tanks will be running out of Thane and they'll get one shot by meteor. So maybe make sure if you're running out of Thane as one of the off tanks covering Blamo or Ziliak that you're paying attention to that meteor timer. But otherwise, it's just not super big. The raid just needs to understand that you burn Thane. So in a little bit lower quality raid, you're going to use all your cooldowns here. I'm not going to tell you your exact timer when to do that. Um, that's something you do just kind of have to figure out as a raid. Um, Shield wall happens, and you want to be able to kill it in one shield wall. So in this raid here, we have enough damage that we don't have to use cooldowns to kill Thane because we have all our world buffs still. If we didn't have all our cooldowns, if we didn't have all our world buffs, maybe we'd have to use some cooldowns, but just know like the power level is definitely possible where you don't even have to think about sending all your people in on Thane, right? That's where the cleave starts being the possibility when you have this level of damage. But we play it super safe. So we don't use our cooldowns on this boss. What we do is we use our cooldowns on Mograine. So again, the reason for that as a safety strat is that Mograine is our #1 focus. We only need 6 tanks with this strat. Typically, you're going to have 4 tanks in the back and 3 tanks rotating between Mograine. But because we know that we're going to kill Mograine in an all-in strat, we only need 2 tanks. We have Tuco tanking it for the first 4 marks, and then the person that was tanking on Thane is now relieving on Mograine, and they just kill it. So again, if you are doing the burn Thane strat and you don't have that power level that we do and you're using all your cooldowns on burning Thane, you need to have 3 tanks that are able to survive on Mograine. And that's the problem, right? Is that the burn tank, the guy that needs to have threat to be able to keep the threat going for Thane, for you to be able to burn it, they also need to have fire resist, right? So I always put the biggest main tank on the one on Thane, the one that I know is going to be able to both survive on Mograine as well as keeping threat on Thane. At the same time, you want to have your biggest tank possible on Mograine at the start so that they don't die, right? So that's kind of the reason that I'm a big believer in Naxx of having like the idea of 2 main tanks. I always want to have 2 people in a raid that I know can main tank bosses at a minimum. Ideally, maybe you have 3 or 4, or no, even more than that. You don't need to be a Fury Prot to main tank basically any boss in Naxx once you get a decent level of gear. And that decent level of gear that I'm talking about, literally everyone has on Fresh because they have rank 14 gear. So yeah, it really just comes down to understanding mechanics and that kind of stuff, and those are the people that you want to have tanking this boss in general, because now we're talking about the back bosses, Blamo and Ziliek. On those bosses, you don't need that same level of power as far as defensiveness as you do on Mograine, as far as like twitchiness, but you do need a sense of self-reliance. You need people that are going to be looking around and understanding the 2 mechanics. So on Thane, you're seeing here how we're staying max range. And then on Blamo, we are just making sure that we move our feet. Simple. Super simple. All of these bosses can be target dummied. They can be disarmed. You want to keep demo shot on them. They don't hit super hard in the back. So again, the reason that we put our main tanks on Mograine is it hits the hardest, and they need to be ready to use their defensives. The back boss, the only time you're really going to need to use your defensives is if healers let you down, if the healer rotation gets messed up. So I kind of just wanted to let this play out as an example of how to do this fight correctly as we're watching here. So let's just go back here a little bit to the start, this perspective of what he's doing on Thane. Oh, I did the buffer. Okay, so he's going to get, let's see, a second mark. Notice how little damage it's doing. He did have a Shadow Pot pre-popped, maybe? No, he didn't. The first 2 marks do like nothing. So healers don't really have to think about it until you get 3 or 4 marks as far as healing yourself, unless you're full health. Lots of this fight, you're just worried about keeping the tank alive. That's your #1 priority. So Waumbek got 3 on Thane, so I'm assuming his assignment is 3 Thane. If his assignment was 1 Thane, he would have gotten 1 mark on Thane and then moved forward. But healers are just going to keep a clockwise rotation. And again, because he was 3 Thane, now after the first boss, you get 3 marks, you move forward. No matter what, if he was 1 Thane, 2 Thane, or 3 Thane, once he gets to Blamo, he's getting 3 marks and then moving forward. That's how you keep the chain going as far as everyone staying consistent. You always want to have at least 2 healers at the boss. If it's down to 1 healer, it gets a little sketch. But 2 healers, feeling good. So now you're seeing an example of we always send 1 or 2 melee DPS on Ziliak at the same time. That gets really scary if you have bad healers, right? Suddenly there's 4 people that can be targeted and the healers don't really know what to do. So healers, I always need you to focus on keeping the main tanks alive on Ziliak, and then your second priority is keeping the melee DPS. But as we just saw here, you only really need to worry about your health if you have like a 4th or 5th mark. That's when it really chunks you. If you have 1 or 2 marks, it's only doing like 1 or 2k. So you just need to get like a hot, or you can use a defensive if you get worried. But you just need to manage your own marks and understand the situation, right? So again, he stayed in a little bit longer on Ziliak, but that's because he was worried. Like, um, I am totally fine in this situation here. This is getting towards the end of the fight at this point. Again, each Four Horseman fight is a little bit different, and you need to understand your situation. In this situation, both Mograine and Thane are already dead. So Waumbek knows that he's now in the safe spot for 6 marks. He wants to still wait for the 3 marks of Mograine, and he wants to wait for the 3 marks of Thane. So he has a lot of time before he has to do anything. You don't want to instantly go from Ziliak and then instantly run over to Blamo. That's how things get really messed up, right? You want to continue that chain and continue that process of going from 3 marks 1 to the next to the next. And notice what he's doing here, where he has a 4th mark and he's just a little concerned about his health of if the 5th mark accidentally goes out. So what if this boss here, suddenly the ignite went crazy and it ran toward the raid? All of these people that had high Ziliak marks, if the timing was bad, they could all get screwed and get hit by a ton of damage. So notice how the person that has higher stacks of something is being proactive about that and trying to step away from the possibility of getting a mark that could be troublesome. Because all Waumbek has to do is step a little bit back, and he'll get hit by a Thane mark, but he doesn't have any Thane marks, right? So it does like 0 damage. You as a raider just need to be really aware of which mark you have, how many, and is it deadly? Is the next one going to kill you? So just understanding that, that'll make Four Horsemen much, much easier for you. I think I covered the tanking, the healing, a little about the DPS. Casters just stay max range on Ziliak. You can have 1 or 2 DPS in on Ziliak as melee if you understand. You can send everyone on Blamo all the time, just being aware of the void zones. The disaster on Blamo is that the tank will get like claustrophobic, and they're going to pull the Blamo boss closer to the raid. And that can happen to any of the corners. The disaster is that if the boss dies somewhere other than the corner, you have to adjust and your safe spot might not be safe. That safe spot in the middle here where we're all hanging out, we know that because every boss is killed in the corner, this is 100% safe. If that wasn't the case, you might have to take 1 or 2 marks and then go to the next and take 1 or 2 marks, then go to the next and take 1 or 2 marks. You can't stay in the middle and just continually get hit by the marks, or you're 100% dead. So making sure that the boss is killed in each of the corners is really, really important. Other than that, I feel like it's pretty covered. Death Nightwing has a lot more that I could say, but again, trying to keep it a little bit brisk and high level and not super specific on any kind of raid. So anyways, GG's, and till the next one.